on Thursday in Murang'a.
Mbunge wa Arego Usoga Samuel Atandi sasa anamtaka waziri wa hazina Rotich kuacha kazi mara moja. Hii ni kutokana kwa kumferisha Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Atandi amemtaka Rais Uhuru Kenyatta kumwachisha waziri Rotich kazi. Atandi ameongezea kuwa waziri huyo ametajwa kwa kuhusishwa na ufisadi wa bilioni 21.
Thank you. I think there was miscommunication. I had wanted this press conference to happen at 10. But I think we were not able to coordinate properly. So I will read my press conference, and then we can, thereafter, then we can talk. I can take questions. And my press conference is the headline is that Treasury CS Henry Rotich must take personal responsibility, resign, and face the full force of the law on the dam scandal. Statement by Honorable Samuel Atandi, MP Alego Usonga. I have called this press conference to expose as well as inform the public on a number of issues of national importance going on in the country and for which, as members of parliament representing the people, can no longer keep quiet on. Kenyans already know there is massive rip-off in the ongoing scandal involving the construction of dams in the country. There has been a claim by a section of Jubilee that the opposition support for the ongoing fight against corruption is one-sided, that we seem to only support corruption when it targets one side of Jubilee headed by Deputy President, and turn a blind eye when the other side, headed by the President, is involved. I wish to state here categorically that our understanding and engagement with the Jubilee government is one that is one government headed by the President, and that the President has himself called on Kenyans to join him in fighting corruption. We are not aware of another Jubilee government headed by any other individual. In any case, were such a government to exist, it would be illegal and a very corrupt one that Kenyans cannot afford. I wish to state here that the ongoing dams scam is a plunder of national resources at a scale bigger than Goldenberg and Anglo-leasing. And among those who must take personal responsibility is Treasury CS Henry Rotich. Because Mr. Rotich personally benefited from the scam, he allowed it to go on and committed the country to pay ghost contractors billions of shillings, which you, as you have read, were later wired to a number of politicians, many who are now shouting loudly that no money has been lost. Make no mistake, money has been lost. Billions of shillings have been stolen and people must be held accountable. For example, I have information that Mr. Rotich, through a company called Hekiro, bought land in Kerio Valley using Italians as directors. They bought this land at Kenya shillings 1 billion and months later sold the same land to government of Kenya at 6.3 billion. Mr. Rotich then pushed for the budgetary allocation of this money. He knew he was scamming the same government is entrusted to safeguard its resources. Once some of the politicians now shouting loudly that no money has been lost knew that Mr. Rotich was conflicted, they went for a kill. They too went to Italy, found corrupt partners, and used them to loot the same government. Since when did Italians own land in Kerio Valley? I want to be the first person to call on Mr. Rotich to resign. Just as I urged President Uhuru Kenyatta to sack Mr. Rachid Echesa, I want to urge him to fire Mr. Rotich. In this fight against graft, no one should be infallible. No one is sacred. No cow is sacred. One of the frustrations the corrupt government officials are facing now is that they cannot hide. And they cannot hide because there is no one to hide behind. During President Uhuru's first term, these government officials and regime-allied politicians only needed to call a press conference, or a political rally, or church arambe, to shout loudly that the problem was the opposition or Raila Amolo Odinga. or civil society or foreign interference, and with that they ensured that the public was distracted, which they used to plunder public resources and steal billions of shillings from Kenyans. On the ongoing attacks on Raila Amolo Odinga, I want to urge the Deputy President and his Tanga gang to stop forthwith. Insulting Raila Amolo Odinga whenever you are caught in corruption scandals is no longer tenable. You can't go on stealing from development projects in your region, then when caught, you start insulting others. When in places like Pokot and Baringo, people cannot find water and communities fight over boreholes, you cannot keep on shamelessly telling them that the problem is not your corruption and the theft of resources, but the problem is Raila Amolo Odinga. That is unacceptable. This is what we can't allow and we will not allow. It must stop. As I summarize, I want to conclude by reiterating that Mr. Rotich must be fired. This dam scandal is his scandal. He led in the looting. He is among top beneficiaries of the loot. Continuing to keep Mr. Rotich as the CS for Kenya's treasury is dereliction of duty by his appointing authority. He must resign and he must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Parliament needs to form a commission of inquiry into these dams because over 300 billion may have been stolen and is at stake. Finally, I want to reiterate that we will continue exposing the corrupt in this government. For years, these people have held the government at ransom in the belief that President Uhuru Kenyatta is indebted to them. The president only sought to protect and defend the Constitution and the laws of Kenya. No corrupt person can be infallible. Sack them, Mr. President. Thank you. I want to be the first person to call on Mr. Rotich to resign. I wish to state here that the ongoing dams scam is a plunder of national resources at a scale bigger than Goldenberg and Anglo-leasing. And among those who must take personal responsibility is Treasury CS Henry Rotich. Because Mr. Rotich personally benefited from the scam, he allowed it to go on and committed the country to pay ghost contractors billions of shillings, which you, as you have read, were later wired to a number of politicians, many who are now shouting loudly that no money has been lost. Make no mistake, money has been lost. Billions of shillings have been stolen and people must be held accountable. On the ongoing attacks on Raila Amolo Odinga, I want to urge the Deputy President and his Tanga gang to stop forthwith. Insulting Raila Amolo Odinga whenever you are caught in corruption scandals is no longer tenable. You can't go on stealing from development projects in your region, then when caught, you start insulting others. When in places like Pokot and Baringo, people cannot find water and communities fight over boreholes, you cannot keep on shamelessly telling them that the problem is not your corruption and the theft of resources, but the problem is Raila Amolo Odinga. That is unacceptable. This is what we can't allow and we will not allow. It must stop. I want to conclude by reiterating that Mr. Rotich must be fired. This dam scandal is his scandal. He led in the looting. He is among top beneficiaries of the loot. Continuing to keep Mr. Rotich as the CS for Kenya's treasury is dereliction of duty by his appointing authority. He must resign and he must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Parliament needs to form a commission of inquiry into these dams because over 300 billion may have been stolen and is at stake.
Okay, thank you, members of the press. I'm Honorable Babu Owino, Member of Parliament, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Embakasi East constituency. I'm here to defend the workers who are currently striking over the issue of KQ taking over KAA and operations of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. I would like to state that KQ is a loss-making company and the number of losses that they've registered, actually the company was going down on its knees. KAA, on the other hand, is a company that has been making profits, a government-owned company, and there is no way by which a loss-making company can take over a company that has been making profits. We are aware that KQ, the majority shares is owned by KLM, and KLM majority shares is owned by the French government. That is more reason why the president of France is coming to Kenya. And I would love to urge the workers, the KAA workers, the workers at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, to hold a major strike on the day that the France president will be coming to Kenya, so that he goes and lands in Uganda. We don't want him here. Because one of the main reasons why he's coming here is for the takeover of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. KQ owes KAA an amount of 3.9 billion Kenya shillings. You cannot tell me that you can take over a company that you owe money. Therefore, with the workers, if we accept such advice, then so many workers are going to lose their jobs, as they've been told that they are going to make fresh applications for jobs. When you do that, it automatically means that you're going to lose your jobs. We are not going to allow this. As a member of parliament, I'll be leading strikes and demonstrations at the airport. Let that airport be closed if it can't be of benefit to the people of Kenyans, to the people of Kenya. And I believe that as a member of parliament, I can do this alone with the help of the workers at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. All airports in Kenya should be closed, because the takeover is going to mean that a private company is coming to take over a public company in Kenya. Lastly, I would like to state and urge the workers to be patient, proceed with the strike. Let them not be intimidated. The CS Macharia already called them criminals, and if they are criminals, the CS himself is a crime. Let him know that we are not intimidated by cheap words. I'm constantly reminding him that he is just a selected member who can be done away with any time. And I will bring an impeachment motion to impeach him as one of the stakeholders who want to benefit from the takeover of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Workers who've been arrested, as a member of parliament, I'm going to stand with you guys. When you are taken to court, I will help in paying the bail. This is a very small issue. You'll just be charged with incitement, which is a misdemeanor. There are bigger cases like murder, treason. So you need not to fear. We are with you. Members of parliament are with you. This fraudulent takeover must be condemned by all Kenyans. And the war has just begun. We are going to fight it. We are going to bring the war in your doorstep, in your bedroom, as Macharia and any other person whose name will feature in this fraudulent takeover of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. I have over 10,000 workers at JKIA. Where do you expect these workers to get their daily bread? As a member of parliament, pressure will be put on me. As we speak, I'm under duress to look for jobs for the constituents of Embakasi East residents. And the ones that we have, we will not leave. We want more jobs. In fact, all the companies in JKIA should employ members of Embakasi East residents, all of them, because we have over 500 companies at JKIA, before employing any other person in any constituency. Charity begins at home. Hayo tu kwa sasa, na mjue mimi mwenyewe napenda tear gas. Polisi, prepare more tear gas, more bullets if possible. We are ready. We will face you head on. Kama tulipiga hii siasa ya revolution, hii ya JKIA itatushinda. Tushakula ng'ombe, mkia yake itatushinda kukula. Haiwezi. Kwa hivyo Macharia, be warned. Mwingine ni huyu anaitwa Rotich. Huyu ameshauza damu ya Wakenya. This man should be sacked as early as yesterday. 2 impeachment motions, one for Macharia, another one for Rotich.
We want to add our voice to what is going on, to the strike of workers of JKIA and the aviation sector in this country. And we want to begin by saying it is a very sad day for our country, that no plane is leaving JKIA, which is our most important airport. It's a very sad day for the country and our own economy. And as we add our voice, we want to tell the people of Kenya one thing, and also the ministry and the executive to hear this, that the reason why our workers are on strike is just because of one main elephant in the house, which has been baptized as PIIP, or the Privately Initiated Investment Proposal, by KQ to KA. That is the biggest animal, and we want the executive to hear this, and particularly the ministry. Let them hear this very carefully. Let us not beat about the bush. We will not help our country by beating about the bush. Why is it causing anxiety in this country? And not only to the workers, even also the people of Kenya, and even also Parliament. You have heard about this for the few weeks. It is causing anxiety because this PIIP has been shrouded with secrecy. Nobody knows what is this proposal. Rightfully so for the workers, rightfully so for the primary consumers at the JKIA. It is a very big animal that we need to look at. Number two, it is causing anxiety because outside there to the public, it's been designed in a way to look like who is that? Rambi. All right. I was trying to say this, the second point, why this PIP is causing anxiety in this country, because it's been modeled in a way that KQ is taking over KA. KQ is taking over Jomo Kenyatta, which is KA, if you were to say it that way. And it's causing a lot of anxiety because the people of Kenya don't know even whether it is KQ taking over KA. And because of that reason, they're asking legitimate questions, which we are also asking as a committee. And we are going to look at it. The people of Kenya are saying, why is KQ, which is a loss-making institution, taking over a profit-making institution like KA? It's a very legitimate question, even for us as a people of Kenya. Number two, they are also saying, who is KQ? Who is this KQ? If it's a private entity, they want to know, if it's a private entity, how can a private entity take over a public entity? It is because this PIP has been shrouded in kind of secrecy. And I will say this, and as a committee we are saying this, that it is because the ministry itself and also the management of KAA have refused to engage their primary customers, who are the workers of that institution. They are the ones who have caused this strike. The ministry has caused this strike. KAA management, senior management have also caused this strike because they don't tell their people what is going on. And therefore, finally, they are also fearing, out of this PIP, legitimately so, the workers are fearing if it is shrouded in secrecy, then they will wake up one morning when the uniform and the flags in their workplace has changed from yellow to something else, because people don't know even what's going on. So what are we telling them and the people of Kenya? We are saying this morning, that number one, the committee is seized of this matter. Now the PIIP, or the Privately Initiated Investment Proposal, is before this committee of Parliament. And therefore, we are saying this to the workers and the people of Kenya. Nothing shall happen. No marriage, if it's called marriage, no marriage shall happen between KQ and KA until Parliament speaks on it and gives a way forward. Nothing will happen. Let the workers hear. Let the people of Kenya hear. Now Parliament is seized of the matter. I will tell the people of Kenya that the management of KA and KQ lied to this committee last year, and they refused to present this PIP before the committee until last week on Tuesday. And therefore, we want to assure the workers, we want also to assure the people of Kenya, we will deliberate on this issue. My committee will retreat this week to look at what is this proposal. And we will have another presser on Saturday once we are finished and give a way forward. And we want to assure the people of Kenya as well as the workers that we will give them an opportunity to appear before Parliament and then let them also tell us their views. This country cannot go with few people or few sector. We will have to go all of us together. And we want to assure the people of Kenya, before we give a way forward for today, that we will not leave any gray area unattended. Police will say we will not leave a stone unturned, but we are saying we will not leave gray areas unattended. And what are these gray areas? For the people of Kenya, I want to share with you. The most important gray area is the staff structure in KQ. We will have to revisit that staff structure. And the wage bill of KQ. Because it is true that KQ is bleeding. We are also alive to the fact that KQ is also a strategic investment for our country. But it is bleeding. So we must look at the veins which are bleeding. And among the veins which are bleeding is wage bill in KQ. We must investigate. We must interrogate that vein because there are issues there. People of Kenya are raising issues. So we look at wage bill. Because even if we were to look at the proposal and moving forward together, we cannot allow bleeding. Because then what does it mean? It means we will pour water to a hole. We will pour water which is now KA to a hole which is KQ. That cannot happen. Practically, it is immoral. I will tell you that. And my committee and my committee here, we will revisit that issue of wage bill. And of course, you know, nationally, we are looking at the wage bill. But people are forgetting, we will look at the wage bill of KQ. There are issues there. Second vein that we will look at in KQ, and in that wage bill, we have already written a letter. They will submit to this committee their structure and payments for every employee of KQ will be submitted to Parliament by next week. Another vein that we will look at is this animal called fuel hedging. Yes, and you know, the agreements and fuel hedging, it is causing a lot of anxiety and might be leakages. So we look at that, the people of Kenya, we want to assure them. We will also look at, very critically, a very important vein, you know, who is KQ? So people of Kenya, we will not leave that unattended. So we want to assure you, we will look at it, so that you don't think that maybe Parliament will not look at some of these nitty-gritty issues, or what I will call very important veins that need to be looked at and tied together. We will look at that. We are aware. Kenyans are saying KQ is private and KA is public. We will look at those veins. We will not leave any vein unattended. And therefore, for this morning, we want to end with a way forward. And what is our way forward? Colleagues and the people of Kenya, now that we are seized of the matter, and the workers will give you an opportunity to appear before us, we want to appeal one thing from you, the workers. Please resume your duty. We are aware, we have heard you, but because we have one important responsibility, which is to take care of our country. And I'll be honest to them. Look at what happened in America. When there was a conflict between Trump and Parliament in America, it caused what we call shutdown. But the employees of America, holding strategic national interests of America, never went on a strike. They maintained their country. Because of nationalism, because they felt that they're people of America. We want to call upon our workers also today that please, these are strategic national interests. It's also our security interests. Airports are security interests. Even honorable members here, some of them were trying to go out of town today, but it was impossible. We want to plead with them that let us take that as a primary responsibility for ourselves as a country. This country does not belong to one person, whether it is in KA or KQ or Parliament or anywhere, it belongs to us. We want to plead with them. And now that they know, we have said, nothing, no marriage shall happen between KA and KQ until Parliament speaks on this matter and gives way forward. And people are saying that there's no need for Parliament to come in at this stage. Let me assure you, there will be a number of legislative changes and amendments that will come to this floor of the House for anything to happen. That's the surety to the workers and the people of Kenya. Those changes must come to Parliament. So there are no ways they are going to sneak and do a marriage in KA and KQ without passing Parliament. In fact, the mother and the father that will sign off this marriage, should there be, is Parliament. They can never happen outside Parliament. So we want to assure the workers that please resume your duties. You are anyway coming to our committee next week or 2 weeks to come. You are coming to present your views. But no marriage shall happen between KA and KQ until the mother and the father accepts. And if that is the case, if executive is the mother, then Parliament is the father. If executive is the father, then Parliament is the mother. But in this case, Parliament is the father. I thank you.
You know, the direction that the prosecution and investigation will take, as far as this matter is concerned, is something I cannot determine. But I want to tell you in confidence that the information has been availed, and what I'm calling for, because the CS knows that he has been given evidence, what I want him to do is to resign. I don't want him to come all the way from Kemuru to back to Treasury, because that would be the height of impunity. And you know, right now, what we want as a country is we must name and shame the corrupt. So we are not going to fear the corrupt because they will take us to court. Let them take us to court. But what I want, and which Kenyans must demand for, is that if you have spent a whole day at DCIO recording statements of scandals that have happened under your watch, you cannot again leave that place and go and sit in your office in Treasury. That one is illegal, and we are not going to accept that. And that's why I've come here to tell the country that Rotich must not step back to Treasury building after spending 2 days explaining himself to the investigative agencies. That's not acceptable.
On Sunday, that question around Europe was put in by the Sunday Metro, and he lied. So is he lying?
He's lying, yes. Yes, he's lying.
And is he alone in this matter? Or there are other
Of course, you know, corruption is executed by many people, and you guys in the media, you know that. That you must have a network, and corruption is coordinated by cartels. He has a cartel, and you can see the cartels because you can see clearly the side that is not interested in waiting for the police to finish investigations. They have jumped in the conclusion and said, you are investigating this thing in the wrong direction. You should not do it like this. I think you guys, you are the media people, you know that there's a cartel that is working and using the CS for Treasury. But we want him to take responsibility because he's a person that this country has entrusted with our past. He's the one in charge. So he must take, before the cartels are nabbed, he must be the first person to take responsibility. Any other question? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Daniel Manzo, Member of Parliament for Makueni. I want to say in our own case that we've got Thwake Dam, which is proposed to be constructed with 36 billion shillings at phase 1, and phase 2 for 30 billion shillings will be to lay the pipe work for irrigation and also to take water to Konza City, where construction of Konza City cannot go on without Thwake Dam. And for us to have prepared the Thwake Dam, first of all, it took many years. The designs have to be completed in advance by the ministry in charge of infrastructure and the ministry in charge of water storage. That took quite some years. The designs have to be ready before the first, and then there has to be procurement to be able to identify which company is going to do the construction. That was done, and it took quite some years. So without the engineering, without the designs, first payment could not be made. And I want to say that in the case of Thwake, 7 billion shillings have already been paid, although the works which have started have not gone to 500 million shillings. It is clear that there is a long process, and it is not possible to lose money when you have a project of this nature unless there is corruption or something is not right or is wrong. So in the case of Thwake, one of the most important things, and for any dam, you must first acquire the land and compensate the people. I am happy to report that the information I have from the Treasury this morning and the Ministry of Water is that the 186 people who have not been compensated in Thwake and delaying its works, their monies are now out with the Ministry of Water, and soon will be going to National Land Commission, whereby before the commission was dissolved, had already done a meeting, and therefore we do not have the legal technicality of lack of commission, and the people will be compensated probably by end of this week. And therefore, then it means Thwake will go in full swing. For the other dams proposed in the country which have not taken place, we must know where the monies are. Investigations have to be completed. Everyone who has information in relation to that dam, including the Deputy President, should be able to give it to the investigative arm of the government so that Kenyans can know exactly what happened in the situation of those dams. And if there are any works or any progress, it should be able to be noted. And there has to be uniformity on how dams are constructed in the country. There is a lot of information which must be with the engineers and the ministry in charge of infrastructure. And without that, it is clear then the payments were made prematurely. And we all want to await the outcome of the investigation by DCI and call upon all Kenyans of goodwill who have information in relation to any misappropriation of funds to give information. And finally, for there to be this kind of engagement, there must be a contract. The contract sum must be known, and the engineering works must be in place. I want to thank you for the opportunity. Was first and foremost, the government engaged a professional quantity surveyor, and they were able to come up with how much will an acre cost, and they were also able to value the homes, and there was a standard fee to be paid for anyone who was to move any deceased persons who had been buried in that land. And the people also had a volunteer quantity surveyor in the name of David Masika of Lloyd Masika Limited. So there were professionals involved to make sure that the land compensation is fair, and also the people agreed, you know, from the local market values of land, including a compensation for resettling the persons. So we made sure that there were no exaggerations in the case of Thwake, and we also made sure that professionals were involved to make sure that the government also does not lose money through any dubious practice within Thwake. And the good news is that now all the monies for compensation, the balance of 700 million, has now been released by the government, and the people should be getting their monies in a short while. And for any other case, like the other dams, such details, you know, such plans should be available for perusal, because there's no way you'll be able to pay for construction of a dam without, first of all, resettling the people, and the budget for resettling the people don't. And for government to spend any money, it must have been appropriated by Parliament. We must see in our books when were these monies appropriated, and when were they released, and whether they were accounted for through the Auditor General. So there is no way money belonging to Kenyans can be lost without trace and without information. Siwe kosa. Si wale tunakulanga lunch tutapatana pahali.